a transaction in the foreign currency. So far, we have been looking into the currencies of the local currency. I mean, the company code currency. Let's say if I post a transaction in another currency other than the company code currency, what happens? So looks like there is some problem on the system date conversion, but anyways, we will continue use our date. Okay, and I'm posting a transaction into another currency. Let's say I'll post that in Singapore dollar. Okay, Singapore dollar. My company code currency is USD, whereas I'm posting a transaction in Singapore dollar. So let's say I'm posting a transaction 4 lakhs. I will say some 3,000. Okay. Now, when I'm posting a transaction in foreign currency, it gives me one more field called local currency, amount in local currency. Let's say I will enter my cost center. I will enter bank account and I'll say 3,000. In the case of bank account, due date is important. So I kept due date as mandatory. Okay. Now I'm just trying to save it. Now I have Singaporean dollar 3,000. Okay, I'm just saving now. Transaction posted. Now when I go into display the document, if you see over here 3,000 is in Singapore dollar. Okay, now what I'm doing, I'm just taking the document number. I'll go into table, or you can do it from here also. You can do it from here also. Like what you normally to do is you just have to go into the change layout and you'll have amount in local currency 2 3. So you need to select them. Amount in local currency. Yeah, local currency amount to 2, local currency 3. I'm just selecting all of them and say yes. So Singapore dollar, this is a transaction document currency, and this is local currency too. It means group currency. In this case, group currency is maintained as UUR. So I'm just going ahead with the same thing, because if I go and change to the USD, again some people will go and change. So I don't want to take all such kind of rubbish. So I'm just going ahead with the same, because group currency is maintained at the client level, right? We have seen that already. So someone has already maintained euro. I'm just going ahead with the same thing. And we have one more currency called hard currency. This hard currency is maintained at a country level. So someone has already maintained as GBP. I'm just going ahead with the same thing. Whereas our transaction currency is Singapore dollar. Now double click on this. You can see USD, which is nothing but your local currency. So this is your transaction currency, this is your company code currency, and this is your uh, group currency, and this is what your hard currency. So the transaction is updated in all these currencies. Now we need to understand on what basis 3,000 Singaporean dollar became as 1,728 USD. And similarly, how did this become to 1591.26 in the case of euro? How did the same become as 3456.22 GBP? We need to understand that. So all these this is basically a simple calculation, but the calculation comes from a transaction code called OB08. There is a table for it called TCURR. So the TCUR table will give us OB08 will give us that information. So let me go into OB08. Now what is our first currency? It's a Singapore dollar, right? Singapore dollar is becoming into USD. Now what I will do, if you go here, exchange rate types, we have different exchange rate types. Now I'm just selecting M. M is nothing but average. We will be discussing that. SGD, M. M is an average rate, SGD and USD. So M between SGD and USD. Yeah, if you see over here, one SGD, one USD. So these many SGDs will become one USD. It means 1.736 USD will be equal to 1 USD. Let me take the calculation. Let me open an Excel sheet. Okay, so let me take an Excel sheet. Okay, so how many, so according to the the conversion rate, 1.736 USD equal to 1 USD, 1.736. Okay, 1.736 USGD will be equal to 1 USD. Correct? Now 3000 SGD, I have posted 3000 will be how many USD? So what is the calculation? 3000 divided by 1.736. So will be 1728.11 will be USD. Let us get into that. 1728. So double click on that. 1728.11 will be your EST. This is as per our calculation. Okay. Now, what are the other two currencies we have? The other currencies are Euro and GBP. Let's see the GBP calculation. We will see Euro little later. Okay, let's see GBP calculation. So we are calculating, we are posting a transaction in Singaporean dollar, and how did we get this? So for that reason, for this calculation, we have a configuration. I'm just going into financial accounting, global settings, ledgers, ledgers. We have completed this configuration already. So define settings for ledgers for a company code. Now just entering. Now the third point here is currency conversion settings for company codes. Double click on that. Here, if you see 1248, 1248 are our company codes, and group currency is 30, hard currency is 40. On what basis are we doing this? How do we get the group currency? Based on 10. What is 10? 10 is nothing but company code currency. Whether you want to consider company code currency or you want to consider document currency. So since we have selected company code currency, 10 should be considered. It means what is our company currency? Company currency in this case, company code currency, it is 172811. We need to consider that part. We need to consider 1728.11 USD. 1728.11 USD. Now this USD should be converted into GBP. So since our configuration says as document currency, sorry, company code currency while converting into a group currency or hard currency, we will have to take the company code currency. Now our company code currency, as we have seen, 1728.11. Now you need to see the exchange rate between USD and GBP, not between Singaporean dollar with GBP, because the base for converting the group currency and hard currency is the company code currency. Okay, so what I will do, we will go into check the exchange rate maintained between USD and GBP. So 1 USD equals to 2 GBP. That is the exchange rate maintained. Now let us go into the calculation. So 1, 1 USD equals to 2 GBP. That is what the calculation, that is what the exchange rate maintained. So now these many are the USDs and how many GBPs? 1 USD equals to 2 GBP and 1728.11 USD will be how many GBP? So what is the calculation? So this into this divided by this, it means 1728.11 into 2 divided by 1, which will be 3456.22. 3456.22. So we will have the same thing here. 3456.22. This is what GBP. So we are not directly considering Singaporean dollar for converting into GBP because our configuration says as company code currency. If you mention there as 00, it means document currency. What happened to it? Okay. If you maintain there, if you maintain there as 00, it means if you maintain there as document currency, then if you maintain here 00 as a document currency, then system directly converts Singaporean dollar to GBP. But since we have maintained as 1010, system will convert the transaction currency, nothing but document currency, into local currency, and local currency, company code currency, will be considered as a base for converting into the other currencies. Now the same with even with hard currency, same with group currency, right? Now we have seen the hard currency. Let's see group currency. How do we calculate the group currency? Now, whenever you have euro currency in our transaction, system does not pick up the exchange rate from exchange rate type M. There is a separate exchange rate type called U EURX. So EURX will be considered for all euro currency transactions. This is what the standard. Okay, we will discuss that part little later. Now, so since the group currency is also converting based on the company code currency, our company code currency is USD. So EURX between USD and what is that? Euro. How much is 1.086 USD is nothing but euro. This is what we maintained on 1/1/2016. This is not the latest rate, but normally we will maintain it daily. Most of the companies will maintain daily. So we will have a revised exchange rate daily, but even then system what it does is whatever the latest exchange rate maintained, system picks up the same thing. So after 1126, since we don't have any other exchange rates maintained, so system is considering 1.086 USD equivalent to 1 euro. Now let us see how the calculation comes. 1.086, right? Now let's say 1.086 USD equivalent to 1 euro. Correct? 1 euro. Now, how many USDs are there? 1728.1111 USDs and how many euro? So this 1728.11 into 1 divided by this. Okay, 1728.11 into 1 divided by 1.086. So 1591.26, which is the euro currency. 1591 or 90 something we have, that is what our euro currency. 1591.26 is our euro currency. So system always consider EURX exchange rate type. Okay, system always consider the exchange rate maintained in EURX. So for converting the euro value. Any questions here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Why is that, they have come up with the new currency type, not a currency type, but
exchange
like
rate type.
AIM.
Exchange rate type. So this is used only in the case of European countries. They have some regulations, European monetary regulations or something. They have some kind of regulations. So based on that, they are maintaining their exchange rates in exchange rate type EURX.
So that applies to, suppose if you want to convert
Euro currencies.
directly, yeah,
Mm.
if you want to convert, from USD to euro currency, you still have
Mhm.
to just select that exchange type, EURX. So whenever
EURX.
that this currency is involved in either on a document currency or company code currency or group or hard currency, we have to
Yes.
just select this currency type.
Correct, correct. Whenever you have currency, EUR, euro currency in your transaction, I mean, what my point in the case of transaction, it can be a document currency, it can be a company code currency, or it can be of any parallel currency. If any of these currencies, if you see a euro currency, then it will go and pick up the exchange rate from exchange rate type EURX.
Okay. And before that, you said if we select as a company code currency for at the time of conversions, so
Mhm.
that is basically is nothing but a reference currency, right? Because
Correct, correct.
we are
Base currency.
reference currency. Okay, all right.
If you select as 00, directly it converts into Singaporean dollar to USD, Singaporean dollar to Euro, Singaporean dollar to GBP in our example.
Otherwise, it's kind of a reference currency.
Correct, correct.
Oh, okay. And you will also tell us, right, when to use direct quote and indirect quote later, right?
Yeah, that
Oh,
it will take time.
okay, sure, no problem.
Okay. So any other questions apart from these? Right. So this is basically the exchange calculations, exchange rate calculations. So exchange rates will come into picture when you have a currency other than the company code currency. Right. It means not only in the document currency. If you have a document currency other than your company code currency, it does not mean that the exchange rate comes into picture. In our example, let's say in our company code settings, the company code currency is USD, whereas group currency is Euro and hard currency is GBP. So in our transaction, even if you consider USD as your document currency, but still USD is getting converted into Euro and GBP. In that case also, the exchange rate coming into picture. So if you have just your local currency and you're not converting into any of parallel currency, and if you're not posting any transactions in other than the company code currency, you really don't require exchange rates. When any other foreign currency is coming into our purview, then you need to maintain your exchange rates. That's the funda. Okay, now how do we maintain all our exchange rates? So we have some configuration that's basically the standard configuration. We will go and check that.
Nanda,
Yes.
what would be the beneficiary for the company to directly convert from document currency to the foreign currency, or use reference currency? In this example, we are using company code as a reference currency. So, like company, how they decide, which will be the beneficiary to the company, using document or company
See,
code?
that's not our call. Basically, that is what the business has to say. Because when you are converting the document currency directly into, I mean, I'm just giving the two versus situations, right? So in our example, Singaporean dollar to USD and USD to Euro. I'm just giving an example. This is one situation. What is the other situation? Directly SGD to Euro. So if you are considering these two situations, definitely you will find some exchange rate differences. You will find definitely minute differences. Okay. So this is what the business call. Okay. Business has to tell which one to consider, right? So business has to provide the information whether they want the company code currency as base or document currency as base. That's it. But we have an option to do both of them. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go and see what is basically involved in the exchange rate configuration. So I'm just going into SAP NetWeaver, general settings, currencies. Yeah, check currency codes. This is the place where we maintain all our currency codes. So normally every currency is maintained here. This is a standard setting. We don't have to do. But if at all you have a new currency, right? Then normally SAP gives us SAP notes, the corrections. So once we implement those currencies, the SAP nodes, then those new currencies will come in. Okay, so if you want, you can also create, but normally this is what the standard setting SAP gives us. All currency codes are maintained. Whatever the currency codes are there in the world, all will be here in this. So I'm just executing so you can find all currencies. Okay, all currencies, you can find all currencies. If you're not finding any currency, of course you can create your own currency. When do we need to create? If you see over here, maybe you have some of the, yeah, if you see over here, Zimbabwean dollar, right? We can see multiple here. When do we really need to create a currency codes? We need to create currency codes if you want. If you don't find your currency code from in which you are you are posting transactions, and if you want to consider the currency, I mean, in the next step, I will tell you when do you require to create your currency codes. At the moment, understand that if you are not finding your currency code in which you are posting a transaction, then you'll come here and maintain the same thing. So normally we don't maintain the currency codes. It's a SAP standard, so we don't have to do anything here. So we will find all currencies, okay, whatever are there in the world. Okay, right, back. Now set decimal places for currencies. This is again a standard. Okay, path is same, just execute. Now here it's very important, this information. This table is a cross client, just saying yes. But still it is saying, before you continue, please read the following text carefully. There is some instruction SAP is giving. Do you want to change in the decimal places despite all recommendations? If I say yes. Now, the decimal places, how many decimal places you want for each of the currencies? You want two, three, four, five, six, or how many do you want? We can mention here. If you are not finding anything, it means if you have a balance, if you have a blank, it means system considers two as a decimal places. If it says as three, system considers as three. Like that, you can find for each of the currency type. Okay, for each of the currency type. And you can see a currency type here, USDN, which is nothing but normally the USD is our currency. That's a standard currency. But still you see USDN. It means it's a defined currency and the decimal places for this is 5. Now what happens if I change my decimal currencies? What? It's very critical. Don't do any decimal places change due in the production run. It means whatever you want to do, you can do before the go live. But once you do this thing, then it will have a huge impact on all the reports. The standard reports will give you with the standard decimals. If you want to change, it will have an impact in all the reports. Okay, so this is the critical activity in order to do. Because of that only you can see two notices before you got into this screen, right? So don't ever change anything in the standard currency. Suppose if you want to do, suppose USD has INR. If you see INR will have two only. It means it will a blank. INR is not there here in this. Okay, so INR will have a blank here. It means the decimal code for that is 2. But if you want to, if the business wants to have 3, 4, or 5, then it is better for you to create a new currency called one new ZINR or something you can keep and mention it as decimal places 3, 4, or 5. And while posting the transaction, you should consider as ZINR instead of INR. Okay, so don't make any changes to the existing currencies, to the existing settings. If you want to have a different decimals, create as a separate currency and you can maintain the decimal places accordingly, but don't ever make the changes to the existing settings.
Nanda, suppose
uh,
if we have already used INR in
mhm,
other transactions, now you wanted to change the decimal, right? So you
mhm,
define the new currency and you start
mhm,
using the new currency. So
mhm.
that would be considered as an would that impact any reporting for whatever
Existing, are you saying? Are you saying the new one?
the existing and also new one? Of course,
Existing will never have any issue, but only in the case of reports, the new transaction will continue to be using ZINR, and you can see in all the reports with 5 decimals or 3 decimals, whatever you have opted in ZINR, and the old the transactions which are posted in INR will continue to show in 2 digits, two
so
decimal.
so that means we can do it in productions straight away, right? If we
We
can.
cannot do that in production straight away. That's what I'm saying. Don't ever do this in the production run. First, we will have to, I mean, before go live, if at all you want to change anything, before go live, you will have to make these changes.
No, 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 no. The thing is that, like we are doing in a productions, because we are, defining the new currency, right? So once we define the new currency, we are not touching, to the old reports or whatever, transactions had been posted into the SAP systems. If we define a new currency, and from that day only we start using the new currency for new transactions, so that
Mhm.
should not be have any kind of issues, right?
The issue, that is what the issue is. So you will see some transactions with two decimals and you will see some transactions in three decimals, right? That's
Yeah.
a problem again. That's a problem again. I mean, from the business perspective, that is a problem. So because of that, what I'm saying specifically, you need to have a clear discussions on the currency thing with the decimal part in the during your business discussions itself. So you will have to make the necessary changes here. But even if you want to do a decimal change, don't do directly in the standard currency. You will have to create a Z currency for that, and you have to maintain the relevant decimals. As long as business is fine with the different currency with the different decimals in particular report, we are fine. It means your point is, after the go live after 1 year, business wants to change to three decimals, right? So you can see some transactions in two decimals, you can see some transactions with three decimals. That's a business call.
So it is better not to just change the decimal at all. Even if when business asks for change the decimal, we can always tell them that will this will be the consequences.
In the real run, in the production run, we should not change the decimals to the standard currency. That's for sure. Even in the, I mean, it will have a huge impact. You will have lot of errors.
But
You will
Nanda,
have.
like even if you don't do directly to the productions, but you go to the, like, development, from development to
See,
Q&A.
this is a configuration. Always it has to go from the development system.
Yeah, no,
What I'm saying
I
is
understand
a
that.
production run. What I'm saying is a production run means it does not mean that doing the configuration directly in the production system. It
No,
always has to come from dev system.
no, I
What
understand
my
that,
point is,
Nanda, I understand that, but my question is that, eventually this will all get transferred to the production, right? You are not doing any configuration straight away to the productions, but you go step by step from development to Q&A to productions. But
Mhm,
eventually it will goes to the productions, right? After all, doing all the testing. But
mhm.
that time again, this problem will start, because the reporting will be changed altogether.
That's what I'm saying. So don't ever do after the go live. Do it
Oh,
before the
I
go
see.
live. Do do
So,
whatever the changes you want to do them before the go live itself.
oh, I
This
see.
is
So, okay.
this is the important topic that you will have to discuss with the business during your discussions.
Okay, I see. So even, business says that, they wanted to change the decimal, we can, simply says that, okay, this is not recommended at all. And
We will have to tell them in
yeah.
the business discussions. I mean, before the go live, we can tell them that this is not recommended. But if business wants that, we can do. We can create a separate currency type, and we can maintain the relevant decimal places. We can maintain that, but it is recommended to do all these things before go live. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. But even if business wants to do it, it is up to them to decide. I mean,
Correct, correct,
it will
correct.
definitely, affect the reporting later on. Not later on, but
Definitely
yeah,
it will have an impact in the production run.
yeah. Okay.
Next, standard quotation of exchange rates. This is not important. The standard path is same, just execute. Yeah. So this is not that much important. because it says as from currency to currency, the validity date, whether you want to do that in the direct quotation or indirect quotation. So what are indirect quotation and indirect quotation? So normally you see any transaction, if you see any transaction, you can find two currencies, two at the time of maintaining the exchange rate, you will see two things basically. Okay, one is the direct quotation, the other one is the indirect quotation. So what is direct quotation? Suppose if you see, one second, yeah, so let me get into this. So not here. Yeah, if you see over here, for any exchange rate type, we have a validity date and you have one currency to the other currencies. When you see over here, direct quotation and we can see an indirect quotation. What exactly the main difference between direct quotation and indirect quotation? There is no difference at all. There is no difference at all. So it means 1 USD equals to how many UNR, UR, I mean euro, or how many USD equals to 1 UR, euro. Okay, so that's the only the difference. It means this is, let us consider this is my USD is my foreign currency and euro is my local currency. Now what I'm saying is 1 USD equals to how many local currencies. This is one way of telling telling the people, or how many foreign currencies equivalent to one local currency. So if I say my foreign currency 1 USD equals to 10 euro, 10 local currency, this is what I say as direct. I'm telling the information directly. This is what I'm saying as telling the information directly. So this is what we call it as direct quotation. I'm telling that one foreign currency will be these many local currencies. 1 USD equals to 10 INR, 20 INR. It means I'm telling that in a direct way. Now 10 USD will be 100 INR. It's going to be the same. There is no change in the exchange rate. 1 USD equals to 10 INR, let us assume, and 10 USD will be 100 INR. The exchange rate is going to be the same, but whether you want to show that in the indirect quotation or direct quotation, you can use in any way. Earlier, in the earlier versions, we used to maintain that indirect quotations only, in the direct quotations only. But using the euro, when we have euro as a separate union, European Union regulations, since we have an exchange rate type as euro X, then the indirect quotation is coming into picture mainly. Mainly in the case of URX, we will be maintaining that in the indirect quotation, but whether you maintain in the direct or indirect, it is immaterial. It's going to be the same. You are showing them directly and you're showing them indirectly. That's only the difference. Okay, so 1 USD equals to 10 INR. That is a direct way of presentation. Or I will say 10 USD equals to 100 INR. That is what a different approach. That is what different approach. So now in such a case, if you want to consider, let me take an example so you will understand this more clearly. Now 1 USD equals to, let's say, 10 INR. Now if I say 10 USD equals to 100 INR, 100 INR, right? Now the point here is whether you want to consider USD to INR in 1:1 or 10:100. How do you want to show this? If you want to show 10 is to 100, you can show them. I mean, 10 USD will be 100 INR. Or you can show in this way also. 1 USD equals to 10 INR. Now, if you want to show this in this way, I mean foreign currency to local currency, this is what you can say as a direct quotation. Now, 1 USD 10 USD equals 100 INR is nothing but indirect quotation, but normally we will not maintain in this way. So how do we maintain? We will maintain as, you know, we will maintain as 100 or 10 INR equals to 1 USD. This is basically we will maintain in the case of indirect quotation. This is what we call it as direct quotation. It means foreign currency, converting the foreign currency into local currency is called direct quotation. Local currency converting into foreign currency is called indirect quotation. In short, we can consider this as an example. Okay, so direct quotation means one the foreign currency into local currency, whereas indirect quotation is called local currency into foreign currency. It's going to be the same. There is no change in that. Because of that European monetary regulations, we have got this has a prominence. Otherwise, there is nothing. Any questions? Okay, so so we are going into the configuration again. Now, this is not that much important step. As part of this, define standard quotation for exchange rates. Execute. So here you can either you'll have to select a direct quotation or indirect quotation. It does not mean that it works in the same way. You can consider in any way. I mean, you can use direct quotation or you can use indirect quotation. Okay, and and if you go down any currency to these currencies, you can use indirect quotation. Any currencies to GBP, you can use indirect quotation. Any currencies to Hungarian, I think it is Hungarian, it will be indirect quotation. New Zealand dollars, any currency to USD, you have indirect quotation as well. Okay, so this is what the standard setting. We don't touch anything, that's fine. Next, prefix. Enter prefix for direct indirect quotation exchange rate. So this is the additional concept we have, but normally we don't use. Say, as I mentioned in the case of indirect quotation, so we are saying, we will be saying as, you know, 10 INR equals 1 USD. So in the case of indirect quotation, maybe you can start with a special, the character called slash or something, and you can maintain the same thing over here in the prefix case in this configuration, but normally we don't touch this at all. Okay, enter prefix for direct and indirect quotation, just execute. Here we don't maintain anything. You want to use uh, you know uh, in the case of direct, or you want to use in the case of indirect, if you want to use any special character, you can to do so that, but normally we don't maintain this thing. I really don't know when do we use, but normally we don't use. Right. The next is the important one. Check exchange rate type. So far we have seen M, right? Now, if you see over here, execute, you can see multiple exchange rate types. These are the exchange rate that we have. You see over here, URX, EMU, European Monetary Union or something regulation. Okay, this is what important. If you see over here, reference currency is always be euro. That is what the meaning of it. In the case of euro, always it considers from URX. So because of that, always system considers URX. And apart from that, you can say bank selling, bank selling rate, and bank buying rate, and average rate. These are the three things that we normally see. MGB, M for average, this is for buying, and this is for selling. And we use P in the case of planning. We use in the case of planning. Okay, if you want, you can create new exchange rate types, but all you need is to maintain those exchange rate types in the document types. Okay, document type. Now, here one important thing. This is called, I'm just selecting this. I don't remember the name. I'm just selecting. Yeah, indicator calculation allowed inverted exchange rate. This is what the inverted exchange rate. What does it mean? It means when you are posting, suppose a transaction, exchange rate maintained between USD and INR. Okay, between USD and INR. This is what direct quotation. Okay, suppose if you are posting INR and you want to convert that into USD, how do we do that? Normally we will have to maintain an indirect quotation. That's what we have seen, right? Direct quotation and indirect quotation. The moment you select this one, it means even if you maintain between USD to INR, system always consider the same exchange rate between INR and USD. That is what the meaning of it. So what is that? Inverted exchange. I don't remember this thing. Every time I'll have to go and check this thing. Inverted exchange. See, if you see here, if any entry is missing for the calculation of USD into DM in the system, then the translation takes place by means of the entry of the translation of DEM into USD. Whatever the exchange rate we maintain between DEM to USD, the same criteria will be considered to convert between USD and DM. That is the meaning of inverted exchange rate. Okay, so some cases we might have to consider. Then I'm not seeing any scenario where we will have to enter this part. Okay, so this is again the standard setting, and if you want to create your own exchange rate type, we can create. Okay, back. Translation ratios of currency. Now here, uh, just execute. I don't know, something is coming up. Okay, so define translation ratios for currency translation. Just execute. What is the denomination that you want to consider? 1:1. Do you want to continue? Yes. Now here, euro to USD. Do you want to consider 1:1? 1:1. Only in few cases, Japanese yen, you can see, this is some currency, not sure. But in the case of Japanese yen, you will find 1 yen, 100 yen equals to 1 INR. That's a base translation we will consider, right? In India, INR, and here USD. Maybe the exchange rate is different, but the base translation is the same, right? 100 paisa equals to 100 cents here. It means the translation is the same, right? Translation 1 INR, 1 USD, 1 INR, 1 euro, 1 euro, right? 1 INR, 1 GBP. But in the case of yens, Japanese yen, 1 INR, 100 yen, 1 USD, 100 yen. So normally we can see that in the case of yen, but still we can see some other currencies. Not sure about all the other currencies, but you can see them in the case of yens. So in this case 1000, it says a COP. Don't know what is that currency is, but it says as 1000. Here also one IDR, but I'll show you the example in the case of yen, Japanese yen. See, Japanese yen here. But here he has maintained 1:1. We don't maintain like this. Someone has maintained this thing. Oh, so we don't have any euro here. So in the case of euro, it says as 1:1. But in the case of Japanese and to some any other currencies, it says as 100 to 1. In the case of INR also, you will find the same thing. ITL we have the same. Let me pick up INR to JPY. INR to JPY 1:1 only. But normally, I think someone has changed here. But normally 1 to 100, it will be maintained as 1 to 100. Not sure, but normally you can see that 1:100. Okay, so that's what I remember. Probably someone has changed here. Probably in the latest version, system might have this configuration.
So Nanda, what is the meaning of that? Like suppose 100
One
Japanese
USD,
yen.
one USD, one INR. It's a base. In India, it is 1 rupee. Here, it is 1 USD. In India, 1 rupee, and in Britain, it is 1 GBP. That's it. That's only the mean. One real in Saudi, one India, 1 rupee in India.
No,
That's it.
let's talk
Hello,
about
hello, Nanda.
Japanese yen.
Hello, Nanda.
Yes,
Nanda, I have a question. Okay, now all this what you're saying, I'm not going to be putting this in my head if I want to work for a client. Is this information come from client, or you have to be the one advising the client when it's supposed to be 1 to 100 or 100 to 1?
we don't have to discuss anything about it. It's a standard. SAP will give you this information. We are not going to change anything in this.
Okay.
It is just what I'm trying to tell you is INR 1 rupee, 1 US dollar. That's it. The exchange rate, I'm not talking about the exchange rate. I'm talking about the measure, the translation measure between two currencies. That is what I'm trying to say.
So
Okay. Yeah.
so that means Japanese yen 100 is equal to 1
Because
INR.
Japanese don't have one. I mean, it always says as 100 paisa in 100 cents in a way, 100 yen, 200 yen. That's the basic, that's the basic measure in Japan. So that is the reason why one INR 100 yen, 1 USD 100 yen. That is what the basic translation process. Okay,
So so this should not be the part of the configurations, because it's a standard
it's not the
defined.
configuration. So whatever we have discussed so far, the entire thing is of the configure. There is no configuration. It's purely the SAP settings. We will do only the exchange rates. This is what our task. All these are the SAP standard. We are not going to touch anything. If you want, we can create exchange rate type, but the translations we normally don't touch. We are not going to consider that at all. So the idea of translation is that 1 USD there, one INR here in India, 1 USD in America, 1 GBP in Britain, 1 USD in America, 1 euro in European countries. That's only the one USD, one SGD. Is it does not mean that one USD equivalent to one ISD. That's the exchange rate. That's a different concept. But the base measure, what is the base? That is what we are discussing over here. That is what we are discussing over here. So 1 euro, 1 USD, 1 USD, 1 euro. Like that you can see.
Even for that matter, we even do not have to maintain the exchange rate, because nowadays, company use the external systems to update the exchange rate every day, right?
But that's what, even that, even if you are using, so it means a system, the exchange rate has to be maintained in the system, right? You have third party tools. If you have a third party tool, the third party tool value should get updated in SAP system, right? It
Yeah.
has to get updated. It means the exchange rates are to be maintained, whether we are maintaining manually or automatically. Those things are happening automatically using the third party tool. That's a different story. But exchange rates are to be maintained. But we don't touch this part at all. Okay. Now the next thing is the exchange rates. Exchange rates. So here we will maintain all our exchange rates. So I think I'm there in one of the screens here. Okay. So I'm just saying yes, I'm here. So what is the exchange rate type that you will have to use? What is the validity, and whether it is an indirect or direct quotation or whatever the currencies that you want to consider. So this is the place where we maintain the exchange rates. Okay. Spreads are used in some cases, not sure. I mean, some average rates, buying rate, calculations we normally use spreads, but I don't know exactly about the spreads, because we normally don't use, because we directly maintain the exchange rates here in this using G. We don't have any G exchange rate type transactions. If you see here G, buying rate, and if you see B, selling rate. Okay. And if you see here average rate, the calculations of buying rate and the selling rate will happen based on the spreads here. There is some calculation in that, but we normally don't use. We will maintain directly here in the exchange rates. Okay. So there is nothing here in this. So some spreads are to be used in order to calculate that. Back. Now the rounding rules for currencies, how many rounding rules you want to consider. So again, you can see that for our currency, for our company code, for a particular currency, what is the rounding unit that you want to consider. If you don't consider anything here based on the rounding rules that we have maintained in the exchange, in the decimal places here, it will consider automatically. Okay. What is the rounding in the case? Based on the decimal places, it will be considered automatically. It means if at all you have zero point 0.5, it will consider zero point 0.5 over there. If at all you have zero point 0.7, it will consider zero point 0.7. But if you maintain the rounding rules, what happens is, if it is more than 5, it means more than zero point 0.5, it will be considered as 1, it will be added as 1. This is what normal rounding procedure, right? So if you want to use, you can use that, but that is not the right approach to do, right? So what my point in this case is, if I have, let's say, 100.7, normally if you are using the decimals, system will consider as 100.7 only. But if you want to use rounding, this becomes 101, because if it is zero point 0.5 and above, it will consider, it will be added 1. So 101, it will become as 101. Suppose if I have 100, 0.4, it will show as 100 only. This is not the right approach to consider in our accounting, because you will find a lot of difference here. Zero point 0.4, we are losing zero point 0.4 here, we are gaining zero point 0.3, which is not correct. So normally we don't maintain this at all. Coming to the work list. Work list is kind of a program that we will be creating to maintain our exchange rates. So work list is maintained. Suppose you want to maintain your exchange rates manually. Okay. Every day you want to maintain that every day. And you have some currencies that you want to maintain regularly. Let's say USD to INR, Euro to INR, or you have some currencies that you want to maintain. So you will be creating a kind of, the template using this work list. Work list is kind of a template, and once you get into that, you will be maintaining the exchange rates directly. So how do we do that? It's just some 2 or 3 configuration steps. We will see them. Define work list for exchange rate entry. Path is same, just execute. Okay, to create our work list, just say new entries. I will say test, or I will say 1248. Okay, I'll say 1248. Work list for exchange. You will understand more clearly once we complete here. And in which lang maintain, what is this? Yeah, you want to maintain daily or every 2 days, 3 days, or what? How do you want to do this? Okay, daily. I'm saying as a daily. Now this is called as a tolerance. What does it means? It means if you put some percentage as tolerance, system will consider. Suppose if I say 5%, it means when there is an increase or decrease in 5%, system wants to consider that 5%. Within that range, if at all you have any exchange rate, system will ignore. What does it mean? Suppose I have maintained as 100 as my exchange rate. Now, if I maintain as a tolerance group as 5%, tolerance percentage as 5%, if the exchange rate is 105 and above, then only the system will consider this. Suppose if it is the exchange rate is 2, it is lesser than 5%, then system will ignore this 102. It will consider 100 only, because 102 is is the percentage less than the 5% whatever we maintained here as a tolerance. So normally we don't maintain any tolerance percentage. Even if the change is of 1%, we want to consider that 1%. So we normally don't maintain any tolerance percentages. Save. So I have created a work list, and I'm just maintaining I want to maintain this daily. Save it back. Now the next step is assign exchange rate type to the work list. This is one of the important topics, one of the configuration steps. Just execute here. It means we are maintaining all of them here. What is the exchange rate type? For which exchange rate type do you want to consider? M. I want to use exchange rate type M. And from what currency to what currency you want to maintain this work list. It means my currency, my transactions always be, my company code is in USD, and we do transact with Singaporean dollar, we do transact with GBP, AUD, and Euro. So it means other than my USD, I will be posting in all my transaction in other 4 currencies. So I will have to maintain all of them. I have to have AUD, I need to have Euro, I need to have Euro, I need to have Singaporean dollar, SGD, and I need to have GBP. So I'll maintain USD. It means what I want is I want to maintain the exchange rates between these every day. That's what I'm telling the system. Okay, so I'm telling the system I want to maintain this every day. Work list, the one what we have created. So 1248 is our work list. 1248 is our work list.
So this is only required if you are maintaining the exchange rate manually every day.
Correct.
But
Not every day. You can
no,
consider whatever the frequency you want.
okay. So in case of, if you are, using the third party tool, you don't need
We don't
to
require
go
this
through
thing.
this.
We
Okay,
don't
I
require
see.
this. So these
Okay,
days we are not at all using this approach. Always we are
right.
going by the third party tool. So nobody is maintaining manually. Okay, just to save it. Now in the front end, we have a transaction code for this. Accounting, financial accounting, general ledger. Do we have in periodic processing? I don't. We have here information system will not be there. I think it will be in environment. Yes, environment, current settings. This is the exchange rate maintenance. OB08 is the transaction code in from the configuration side. S underscore BCE underscore 68000174 is the end user transaction code. You will be in the same screen. It's the same screen, but this transaction code is in the end user side. OB08 is there on the configuration side. Now this one here. Enter currency exchange rates using a work list. S underscore B20 underscore 88000153. Just enter here work list. Select the same thing. It should be in the green color. You have an option to change. Yeah, completed. Yeah, it's in the green color now. Save it. Okay, select the same thing. Maintain the now. Enter exchange rates for work list. Just press enter. Here we have maintained between AUD to USD, Euro to USD, GBP to USD, SDT. Just all you need is enter the date, enter the exchange rate. So if I say today's date, I can enter today's date. So still it is showing us 27th January. It's a system date problem, but let me select our date 11th August. I'll say 11th August. Now exchange rate I will say here between AED to USD. I'll say 1 euro to this thing 0.8 and 2. I'm just entering something. I think it is comma. Okay, so validity from this date.
So Nanda, every day, not every day, but whenever you need to update the exchange rate in this screen, not to
Correct.
the previous one, right? Where you maintain exchange
Yes,
rate.
yes. There, what we will have to do is we will have to go select the exchange rate type and all other things. Here, it it should allow me to do this. It means the exchange rate, the translation probably not maintained between Euro and USD for this exchange rate type. Yeah, because Euro currency we don't maintain in the exchange rate type M, right? So because of that, it is not giving any information. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So exchange rate type M should not be used in the case of euro currency. So because of that, there is nothing here, and it is system is not allowing us to save.
But can you change it to EURX?
Not now. We will have to go back to the exchange configuration. We will have to maintain. Then here you need to change the exchange rate type. EURX euro to USD.
So basically, the system will remind you every single day that, okay, and you need to update the exchange rate
It will not a
every day.
reminder. It will not a reminder. You will have to come here and maintain. That's it.
I think there should
Yeah.
be somebody from the business that it will be their responsibility to be doing this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but George,
So,
they can also do it directly to the previous screen, right? Where you maintain the exchange rate.
Well, like
Why you have to just come
where
here? This is, I think, one of the additional steps SAP is putting.
that's why it shows to you where the business user can also go, because where I was working, there is a particular person who is responsible to be looking after this exchange rate and go there and make changes. It could be daily. His responsibility is to come in the morning and check the exchange rate
But
and maintain it.
but George, that was the case even in the past too. That is the responsibility of the end user or the business to update the exchange rate. That's not the question here. What
But the
I'm
question
saying,
is this:
this is additional steps. This thing, you can, always update to the older system. I mean, not older system, but other screen where you maintain the exchange rate.
correct. We don't maintain here. Just I'm giving this information to you. There is a possibility to maintain the exchange rate. So nobody is maintaining manually. No one is maintaining manually. We will have third-party tools that will, that will be executed on the particular time every day and gets updated into our system. Okay. Now here, even if I want to use EURX, it is not allowing me to do. So it says as for exchange rate type URX, only rates with two currency euro are relevant. It means I will have to use USD with euro, right? So I can use from other currency to INR only. I cannot use euro to other currency using exchange rate. Okay, that's the condition for them. So just save it back, go back, and again go here
Nanda,
and maintain the same thing.
Nanda, is it a mandatory that we have to define this work list, or if
See,
we don't
sir, 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 I'm telling from the beginning, it is just a manual step we have. We are not at all using this. It is not at all a mandatory. Nobody is using manually. If you want to maintain manually, apart from OP08, the other transaction we have here, we have other transaction S underscore BCE underscore 68000174. Go here, go to new entries, enter all the stuff, whatever you have, right? So
Hmm,
11/08/2019 and direct or indirect, you will be maintaining here, right? Here
right?
you will be maintaining, you can maintain like this also, there is no problem. But the work list gives you the list of transactions what you want to maintain. Now here you are maintaining, right? I'm going back, I'll show you the approach with the work list. This is what the work list. I'm selecting here, going into change, I can see directly what are to maintain. That's it. I don't have to enter the currency two, all these things. All I just need to enter validity date, exchange rate. That's it. It's the
Okay.
same activity, same procedure. But there are few things that are avoided here. You don't have to enter what is the exchange rate type that you want to consider. All are there in the template itself. You have this template, you are just entering the validity date along with the exchange rate. That's it. That's what you're doing. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
All right, got it.
It's not
Yes, yes.
not the mandatory thing. It is just the other option to maintain manually. Okay,
I used
so you
to I used to do this in 98.
sorry.
I was using this function in 98. So nowadays it
Okay.
seems all these are obsolete,
Yeah,
you know.
nobody is using. No one is using. Just for since we have a concept, I'm just showing you that's it. So AUD between USD. Now what I'm doing, I'll maintain today's date. I'll show you. I will say some three. Okay, save it. Okay, so it's not allowing me to do. So it's not allowing me to do. Why? Yeah, I think it is saved only. Directly it is saved. So let me just go back and see it once again. Yeah, it's a saved, right? Now, if you go and see between here, what I've maintained between AUD to USD, I've maintained as 3, right? Now, if you can see the same thing, so it's not getting saved. It's not getting saved. I think there is some, here we have a save option. I'm just entering here. Oh my God, something is going wrong. Actually, I, it has to work. Some problem, I think, with the system or something. Currency rates updated. Let me just see that. Okay, let us see there. Here, if I go here, M from currency AUD to USD on 11th August. You can see now. It's the same. Whether you do there or here, it's going to be the same. But worklist is just like a template. All currencies, whatever the currencies you want to consider, all will be there. Just we will maintain the dates, we'll enter the dates and we'll maintain the exchange. That's it. Here, go into new entries, pick up the currency, pick up the exchange rate, all you will have to do. There we are just entering validity date and the exchange rate. That's what we are maintaining there. That's only the difference. Got it? Any questions?
No, Nanda.
Yeah. Now, this is what basically the exchange rates, and based on that, the system calculates the amount, while giving the records. Okay, so we have already posted the exchange rates. So exchange rate is basically based on the exchange rates whatever we have maintained over here. So in our company code, we have, apart from company code currency, we have two more currencies maintained, right? We have two more currencies maintained. Apart from our company code currency, we have two more currencies maintained. Those are euro, and the next one we have is GBP. So you can see them, and the conversion is happening based on the local currency. Conversion is happening based on the local currency, I mean company code currency. You can see them over here. 10 is the base currency, source currency. Okay, so the source currency is our USD. It will be the euro will be derived based on the USD, and the GBP is also be based on the USD currency. Okay, so this is what we have seen. Now there is a situation, right? So let us see a configuration. I mean, let me take an example. Let's say I have posted a transaction on 10th of August. Let's say I've posted AUD transaction. This is what my document currency, and my company code currency is USD. Now on this date, exchange rate equals to 1 AUD equals to 1.5 USD. And I've posted a document with 1000 AUD. On this date, 1500 is my USD. On which date? It is on 10th of August. 10th of August. Now, let's say before end of the month, let's say on 25th of August 2019, okay, we are paying. Let's say this document we are posting a vendor invoice. We are posting a vendor invoice. Okay, I'm just referring about the vendor transactions. Vendor transactions, not only the vendor transactions, you can use in any other transactions. Okay, but best example is vendor, customer, any other open item related stuff. I'm, I've posted a vendor invoice in AUD. It means I've purchased 1000 AUD worth stock, and the exchange rate was on 10th August was for 1 AUD equals to 1.5 USD. So $1,000 I've posted, and that came to 1500 in USD. Now on 25th August, the exchange rate changed. 1 AUD equals to 2 USD. Let us assume. It means my document currency is not changed, but only the change in my foreign currency. It is 2000. Earlier it was 1000 AUD, now also 1000 AUD. There is no change in that. But earlier my local currency was 1500, now it is 200. There is a difference in this. This 500 is nothing but realized. Is it a loss or profit for us? It is a loss for us. Realized loss. It is called a realized loss. It means, so because of the exchange rates, we got a loss of 500. If I paid on 10th of August itself, I would have paid in 1500. I would have paid 1500 only in USD. But since I'm paying this on 25th August, because of the revised exchange rate, I'm losing 500 USD. No change in the document currency. The currency is the same. I'm paying 1000 to the vendor. I purchased 1000 worth of AUD from a vendor. I'm paying 1000 AUD only. There is no gain or profit in the case of vendor. But the loss we are facing just because of the exchange rate differences. Because of these exchange rate differences. So This 500 is called a realized loss. Suppose on this date the exchange rate is 1 only. It means earlier it was 1500, now this becomes 1000. It means 500 is a gain for us, which is called realized gain. So realized gain and loss. Any questions in this? Okay,
No.
fine. This is what we call it as a realized gain or loss. And what is unrealized? There is another term called unrealized loss or gain. What are these? Okay, this is in the case of realized. So we are paying the amount here. Payment is happening now. Now let us take another example. Now that we'll take another example. Say let's say on 10th August, okay, AUD to USD, the exchange rate is 1 AUD 1.5. This is the now we are posting a vendor invoice with 1000 AUD. Now the same will be 1500 USD. This is happening on 10th of August. Okay, on 10th of August. It is happening on 10th of August. The date is 10th August. Now we have not paid until 31st August. We have not paid. Payment did not happen. It means this 1000 vendor invoice is pending still on 31st August. Now, in order to have our financial statement, proper financial statement, we cannot show either 1000 or 1500 in our financial books. We will maintain our books in our company code currency. It means we cannot show the balance as 1500. Why? Because the exchange rate as on 31st August may not be the same as on 31st, as on 10th August. If it is the same, there is no problem. But if the exchange rate on 31st August 2019 between AUD and USD is 1 AUD equals to 2 USD, there is a change in the exchange rate. So showing up our balance sheet with 1500 as a vendor item is wrong, which is wrong. We should show it as 200 because as on 31st August the exchange between these two is 2 1 AUD equals to 2 USD. It means we should show them as 2000 or here instead of 1500 because it is pending on this date. If the payment happens, there is no problem. We will have either a realized gain or unrealized gain. So realized gain or realized loss. But here in this case, the payment did not happen. Still, the amount we have to pay this 1000 AUD still as on 31st August, but the exchange rate is difference. So the difference we have here is 500. This 500 is called unrealized. It is a loss for us, unrealized loss. We will show them unrealized loss. We will show them as unrealized loss. So the entry going to be unrealized loss with 500 and credit with balance sheet account, which is called as adjustment account 500. It means we cannot show directly vendor as 2000, but this balance sheet adjustment account 500 will be considered on the liability side. So 1500 the vendor amount 500 adjustment amount so that our balance sheet will show properly. This 500 will not be added to the vendor because it is not paid yet. We have not paid the amount to the vendor. We cannot say this is going to be 2000. So probably if we are paying it on 15th of September, next month 15th of September, there the exchange rate between these two currencies 1 is to 3. Maybe you can find a difference. So that the this 500 dollars should not be added to the vendor because this is not the right one. Maybe at the time of paying you may have a different exchange rate. Maybe it increased, or it may be decreased, or it may be increased. So this 500 should be adjusted, it should be shown as a balance sheet adjustment account along with a loss of 500, which will be shown on the profit and loss account. Why I'm saying this as an unrealized? Because this is not the real amount. We are just on this 31st December, we are just maintaining a provision amount of 500 because of the exchange rate. Any questions here?
So Nanda, after that, you prepare this financial statement for 31st August. Next
Mhm.
month, you have to reverse this thing, these
Yes,
transactions.
it will be reversed. It will be reversed. We will discuss that part. Any questions until now? Okay. So since it is unrealized, we call it as a provisional entry, right? Since it is unrealized, the this is not the realized transaction. When the realized happens, when we are paying the amount within the same month or next month or any month, when we are paying that time, we will have a realized loss or realized gain. This is not a realized transaction. This is just a provision entry, provision transaction. So because of that, we call it as unrealized loss. So since this is a provision entry, this has to be reversed. And why are we posting this transaction? In order to show our financial statements properly. And this has to be reversed any date in the next month. You can post any date in the next month. You can post it on the first day of the next month, 5th or 10th, whatever the date you mention, you can post it. If you don't mention anything, system will consider the first day of the next month. It will get reversed. Why we are reversing? Because this is just a provision entry, and you will be considering the realized gain or loss in the next month. Let's say on 30th September again, still it is open. What happens on 30th September? Again, we will have to calculate the unrealized loss or gain, and the same thing will get reversed in the next month. It means on 1st October. So as long as it is unrealized, that will get reversed. That is what the process of the realization and unrealization. Any questions? Okay, so this involves some configuration, right? So this involves some configuration. We will discuss that from Monday because the time won't be sufficient to discuss now. So we will discuss this part from Monday. So it may take actually thought of taking up this session in one class, but since we don't have an option to do now, let's do in our work days. Monday to it will take some 2 to 3 classes to complete this. Validate we have the configuration over here. This configuration is there. So for that reason, we need to have realized gain, realized loss GL, unrealized gain, and unrealized loss GLs along with the adjustment entry. So you can see over here 1248 is our this thing. Here you can see the new entries. You will see exchange rate difference, realized loss, realized gain. Okay, and valuation, this is for the valuation loss, I mean unrealized loss, unrealized gain, and the balance sheet adjustment account. This translation is different concept. We will discuss this once we complete this part. Any questions?
So to use this new system, are we going to be using that the same system, the variance they use, the setup?
I did not get you.
I
What
mean,
is it, sir?
is this the new SAP system they got?
Yes.
So how are we going to use the same variance that we use for the old one?
No, we are not going to use the old one because we had some issues with the old system. We got a new account. I mean, Raghu made a lot of efforts in getting this system ready for us. So I made I made the configuration. Whatever we have done until now, I've already completed that configuration. The entire thing is in place except the financial statement version.
So to set
This
up this system, do you have the, so how are we going to have this one as well?
so I mean, Raghu can answer to this.
I mean, how we can have access so that we can download this and delete the old one? Or